Welcome back to the Spider Cave. So we have another rehousing video today with a couple of differences. Firstly, we've got one of these new enclosures that I'm going to be trying out. So this is a 30 by 30 by 20 and it's one of the new glass enclosures that the Spider Shop have released recently, which looks terrific, looks really excellent. So very similar to the Komodo style, so they've got a sort of mesh lid which will kind of go on the top. And that lid also has a little feeding hatch that you can open and then close, so it makes it nice and easy kind of update and store a spider without needing to remove everything. And lockable cap at the top. And lock in. So nice and simple, everything will be fine. Second new thing, as you know, I've been researching into different substrates, so we're going to try something different today. We're going to try this one with the camera. This is move this out of the way. This one, so this is a Habitat spider bedding. This is from my local pet shop, so we're going to give this a shot and see what it's like. It should be enough to fill that enclosure up, and it says it is designed specifically for spiders and other burrowing species, so we'll give this a shot and see how it goes. And then the spider we're going to be rehousing today is Aragog. That's the curly hair that I've got. Absolutely wonderful. We'll have a look at them in a second. So we'll get this out of the way, get the enclosure all set up, and then we can have a look and try and get them transferred. Still trying to work out the best way to do that. I'm hoping I'll be able to walk them in. Depends on how I kind of set this up. It might be I have to catch them, sort of cut them and bring them over, but we'll see. So we'll get this out of the way. We'll get the spider in shot. Okay, so this is Aragog. This is my curly hair. An absolutely lovely species. I'm going to take the camera off so we can go a little bit mobile for a second. And so we can get a better look at them. So it's an absolutely just wonderful, wonderful spider. It was almost one I didn't buy. I was really close to just ignoring it, thinking, oh, it's just another brown spider. It's quite a dismissive term probably for spiders, but I almost didn't get one. But it's actually incredible when you see them up close. Unlike some of the others, they do have this obviously just wonderful curly hair, and they just look terrific. Actually, they look really great in the light. They look really wonderful. This one is just absolutely adorable. So they've got this nice piece of cork bark. I might actually try and swipe this for their new enclosure, but I've got some other bits which they can kind of have. You can see they've done a little bit of webbing. It's a tiny burrow there they can kind of walk into. They don't go often too much. What I do love about this particular one, and actually it's been the same ever since they went into this enclosure. They've molted a couple of times, but every time they've remained the same, that whenever they catch anything, they don't go into their burrow to eat it. They actually go right up onto this cork bark. They'll go right up onto the top, and they'll just sort of parade around with it, and which is absolutely fantastic. So you can see her just moving around. She's absolutely gorgeous. So she's in a substrate that's mostly cork bark at the moment. That's what I've been using for all of them. So she's going to get a different substrate. I'll keep the enclosure similar-ish. She's obviously feeling out. She can feel my breath as I'm talking, and looks like possibly a chance of freedom, so we're going to be a little bit careful. Going to get the lid back on, get her set up, and then hopefully get her walked over. Haven't tried to rehouse her before, so I don't know what she's going to be like. I don't know whether she's going to walk over quite nicely. I don't know whether she'll react to the paintbrush at all, so we'll find out. If we need to, we can kind of cup her and take her, but for now, just going to get her set up and then ready to go. It looks like she's ready to move, so we'll see if we can get a place for her to go. Just going to start getting some substrate in. that's looking. So it's got quite a nice feel. It's very slightly damp. You can see my hand, it's just a little bit sticking to it. So exactly the kind of moisture level we're looking for. And that's really what we're sort of switching for. Just trying to find a better mix. I've got a few enclosures where I've stuck with sort of cork box. Some of them seem fine. They seem to hold their moisture quite well. And others seem to really struggle. More of this. That gives a nice, decent amount of substrate. So again, this spider has mostly been a display spider. They haven't really burrowed much. They had a little burrow to begin with. It does go down into the corner, and you might just be able to see. I kind of tried to move it in shot. There's a little bit you can kind of see at the back around here. So Aragog, these sort of dig down and kind of cut down a bit, but mostly it's been on show. But I obviously want to make sure they've got that as well. That's quite important. We'll keep the water dish from the old enclosure. That's perfect. I've also got some springtails, which I picked up again, local pet shop. So I'll get some of those in as well. Mix them in. Keep some back for the rehouse, but get a load of those in as well. And that will help. There you go. So I found this quite nice piece of cork bark. I think that works really well. I quite like the way the other one works. I think they've enjoyed burrowing down, but I want to give them something they can walk over that feels similar-ish. So I quite like that. So we get a bit of a burrowing around here, and then that can sit on top. I think that gives a nice inviting space. And then we will take a bit of this, and again get it over the back. We can block up that back section a bit. Don't want it to be too awkward. I just want to cut round at the back. Have enough there. There we go. One of the very nice things, obviously, about most spiders as you put them in, as I've seen with a few of mine, is if they're not happy with what you've set up for them, if they don't like this burrow, they'll make themselves another one somewhere. If they're not happy with the way you've organised the substrate, they'll easily tell you, and they'll move it around until it's where they want it to be. And even to point of, I know some of them like to fill their water dish, but any plants that go in, they'll happily take care of those if they don't like. So it's all really good. So nice enclosure, new substrate, which hopefully will hold moisture a little bit more. And then lastly, picked up at recent trade fair, a little bit of Terra Moss, so I'm going to get some of this in as well, again from the spider shop. If you like a lot of their stuff, it's always worked really well. Nice feel to it. Get some of this out. Don't need to put too much in, but enough so it feels a little bit more normal. So I haven't used this before. I didn't want to hide my burrow, so I'll make that really nice and obvious. It's a bit thick there. Again, this also will help keeping some of that moisture. I think that'll work well. Get that bit out. That. Then we get a bit over here on the back as well. just giving it a nicer greener effect. A little bit more for humidity, and I think that will do a really good job there. And I think what we'll do is we'll put the water dish sort of here, so make a little kind of spot for it, but it can sit on that, and you'll just dip into there. And that'll be fine, so make a little bit of a pot there for it. Okay, so nice. Obvious I've missed my calling as a horticulturalist, you can tell by that. So, but there we go. A little bit of moss, looks a little bit nicer. Nice enclosure for Aragog to go into, and a new substrate to try as well. So a lot of nice things going here. Obviously, the last thing we need to do is get our spider in. So we'll use the water dish in the previous enclosure. That can go in. May as well keep it. In fact, actually, I was saying that I've got a set of new ones, and I will just actually put one in. So there we go. So water dish is in. I'll get that full up as well. Okay. So, all looking very nice. Last thing we need to do is get the spider in. So, again, they are over here. Now, they were making their escape last time. Hopefully this time, nice and well behaved. But we'll just see. So this is a New World species, often classed as a beginner species. On my paintbrush, there we go. Now, they can be a little bit skittish, they can be quite fast. This one in particular, she is absolutely can bolt out when needed. She's been in some of the feeding videos and she'll kind of race in whenever she needs to. She's looking like she's about to go into a burrow at the moment, so we'll see if we can nudge her along. If not, I can remove this piece of cork bark, and if she really isn't, you know, if they're not really very happy, we will cup and move across. But hopefully we can get her just to walk up and into her new enclosure. I'm going to spin this round, so hopefully this time we can walk into a higher area and they're sort of over the top and in, so we'll just see what happens. There we go. Ooh, a little bit feisty there. Looks like she's not too happy. Jabbing at the brush a bit. So we're going to cup her and take her across, just because I don't think she's too happy at the moment. She's a little bit disturbed. So I'm just going to cup her and bring her over. I think that'll be a much easier solution. So we'll start by just trying to get rid of this piece of cork bark. We'll see how they react. Obviously this is quite a large disruption of the environment, so we're just going to be very careful. And then got our catch cup just here and paintbrush all ready, so we're ready to go. Okay, so no auto panning camera, but there they are, nicely in the cup. All perfectly fine, all quite happy. And now we need to get them just down and into their new enclosure. So we start getting them down. I would quite like them to go into the burrow. I think that will help. I think they'll feel safe there. But we'll just see how they want to react. Again, we're trying to be very careful. Let's start this way and see how they go. There you go, down you go, down, nice and careful. Okay, to the last leg out. And there they are, in their gorgeous new home, ready to start exploring. I won't feed them just yet. I did a feeding a couple of days ago, so they should be fine for food. And they're going to want to have time to settle. So I'll give them a week, let them settle into this new environment. But they have got a nice burrow they can go into, so they can go and hide away. Get used to this. I'll keep the lid back on and just make sure that they're just not bothered for a week. I think for this particular spider, it's many things that can cause issues, I guess, when rehousing. It depends what you apply by an issue. As I said, we didn't really get a threat pose. We had one little hit at the brush, and I just felt this would be a safer way to move them. And for a New World species, there was no hair kicking, no frustration. There was nothing obvious. You can see there, just a little bit of a spin. They found that burrow. So it wasn't an awkward rehouse. It was just, in that instance, especially as a beginner, which, after only a year or so, I certainly am, or sort of year and a half. I definitely count myself still as a beginner. So now all sealed in. I'm definitely still a beginner. It just makes it that much safer for the spider. And the last thing I want is either the spider running up the brush towards me, which again is only likely to hurt them if they fall off or damage themselves, or simply being stressed out. They didn't seem too stressed being carried over. So there we go. And just there you can see there's our nice little shot, and there they are. Perfect. So they've seen that little dark space. They're now nice and safe. Nothing's going to happen there. They can spend some time, calm themselves down till they're comfortable, and then start exploring out. Obviously, different substrate, different texture, but the basics are there. A nice, decent hide. And lastly, a little bonus extra. Again, just useful tips for beginners, things that I'm kind of finding out all the time. So this is Terry. So Terry was one of our new spiders added quite recently, and when I was rehousing her, I for the first time actually put the old enclosure into this new one. So the old enclosure sitting right there. When I say enclosure, this is how I kind of bought them. They've been put in here, for a day or so, and then moved across. So that's kind of this temporary house. But you do notice, obviously, there's no hide, there's no place to go. And as they were going around this enclosure, they were moving quite a lot, enough to make me think that if I did get her with the brush into this new enclosure, there was a good chance that they would just run straight out again. And while I'm thinking of some design changes, some elements here that will make that a little easier in terms of if a spider does run out, I've got a little bit more control. At the moment, if a spider runs out, they're either running onto the table, as Ripley did when I had to rehouse him, or dropping onto the floor into something else, and it could be very awkward and dangerous for them. So gone into this new enclosure. Now when they went in, I was really glad I did rehouse them the way I did, because as soon as they went in, first thing that she did, she ran around this enclosure. So she actually would do laps around this whole section. She was running around the sides. She ran around the sides, and then she actually ran over the top of the lid. First time any spider has kind of done that. She raced over around the top, and actually throughout the next couple of hours was just spinning around the enclosure, running around like crazy. And I dropped some food in. I don't usually like to do that with a new spider, but I just wondered if it was something that would help settle it. It didn't. Again, she just ran straight past it and kept spinning around and around and around again and again and again. But if you look now, you can see she's now in this nice enclosure. You see all the webbing she's done already. So it's obviously nice and happy. She's got this lovely, gorgeous web that she has set up. So really kind of nice, inviting burrow. Well, I say inviting. I don't want to be a cricket or a hopper going towards that, but for obviously her, it's exactly what she's looking for. And you can see she spends her time just sitting at the mouth of that burrow. Now she will now as often come out, so she'll kind of get to around here, this little bit. She likes being just up on the side. And anytime I pick her up, it actually took a little while to film this clip, she'll go straight into that burrow. So she's quite fast. She can be a bit skittish. That's absolutely fine, but in no way is, she anyway aggressive or awkward. There's been no, hair kicking, no issues whatsoever. And she's now incredibly calm. You see, she just sits in her burrow. She's quite happy. She sits on the side. She's fine. She'll, sit back. There isn't any of that madness, any of that racing around that I saw when I kind of moved her. The sort of thing I wish I'd filmed, but I'd already sort of put her away and was actually just going to leave her. I did manage to get the old enclosure out, but it still took me a good couple of days till I could get it out when I knew that she would, kind of not be running around over it and escaping straight out again. And it is really interesting how the behaviour of species can seem, so random when you kind of first get them. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know anything, about this species. I'd read little bits online, but, I didn't know everything I needed. And obviously, because every species is different, you can have one that's very calm. You can have one that's quite manic. You can obviously get a lot of different things. So you have to be careful. But she seems quite happy, and just seems now really calm and really comfortable. And obviously, if I was to go poking around too much, that would cause problems. But in this calm state, there was a really excellent video. If you haven't seen it, Tom around at Tom's Big Spiders, he did a thing recently and was talking about his most, he classed them as defensive species. Obviously, we don't say aggressive, we try to say defensive. The spider's only defending itself. And if you think logically with this enclosure, the spider's in, imagine someone, ripping off your roof and digging around, it's going to make you a little defensive. So he was talking about that, but he did in the video mention that on a couple of occasions, sometimes it was the habitat. It's nothing to do with the spider itself. In this instance, this spider has been travelled in, a perfectly acceptable short-term container, but with nowhere to go, and has really just been looking to set up a much more comfortable home. And that's what she's done here. Very happy, very calm, and just absolutely gorgeous webbing as well. So another really lovely spider, but just shows that sometimes it isn't the spider and it isn't you as a keeper. It isn't maybe what you're doing when you're trying to move them or how they react. It really is, have you done the research? Have you given them something that they're going to be happy in? Are they happy in the home you've got them in? And for this girl, certainly seems to be the case. So we're going to get the lid back on her as well. She can go back up on the shelf and she can take the limelight another day. Hopefully we'll get her into a sort of one of the more upcoming feeding videos. That'll be quite nice now she's perfectly settled. But so it's just nice to show these spiders how they change, and how in one, sort of a month ago, she could seem quite crazy and I wasn't quite sure how I was going to deal with her. But now she's been given somewhere quite nice and is obviously very happy as well. Hopefully Aragog will feel the same in that nice new enclosure. And that's really what we want to do. We want our spiders to be as happy as we can. So there she is. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.